Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of I Think I'm Human Too. I had done a little bit of a break, and then last week, or 2 weeks ago now, I launched the episode back. And then, if you followed on social media, so my best friend was pregnant. She's now a mother. Bitch, she a mother. So, what had happened was last Saturday, I gave my best friend a call and I was just like talking to her and I got off the phone with her and I was like, just something doesn't sound normal. Not that anything was like bad or overly wrong by any means, but it was just more like it just didn't sound like her. She sounded kind of down and she was supposed to go into get induced on September 2nd. This is like the last weekend in August. I don't know what the date was, the 24th. Let me go look. Yeah, it was Saturday the 24th when I talked to her, and she was getting induced on September 2nd. So she was just over a week out, and just something didn't sound 100% right. And my husband was like, trust your gut on that one. Like, because I was on speakerphone with her. He was even like, she just doesn't sound like the normal Haley. Like, I don't know. So I decided to fly across the country. I used flight points that we had booked up from Delta. So we love a free flight. I showed up at her doorstep Sunday morning and we just like kind of hung out that day. It was so funny. As soon as I got there, she asked her husband, she was like, wait, why don't I just take my maternity leave a week early? Because we knew that the next week she was getting induced. And he was like, haha, very funny. But she was like, okay, let me at least take tomorrow off. So if you guys have watched like my TikTok stories and like you watched my Instagram stories the last week, you obviously know how this went down. But if you haven't, let me explain to you guys. So Sunday I got in town. We just kind of like hung out. We went and got tacos. We went and had her like doing some curb walks, just kind of like preparing her body for labor. But nowhere in our right mind was this baby coming early because we thought she was going to be up until the induction date. So Monday she did take off to hang out with me and we got her entire house ready. We did like some Goodwill runs. I ended up buying like a standing freezer for their house because their freezer just in general is already small. But then when you have 3 adults living in the house and you're pumping and milk supply, like you need more space. And not only that, even without milk, like there was nowhere to put their food. So we ended up going to Costco. We put a bunch of freezer meals in their freezer. And then what else did we do that day? I ended up hiring cleaners to come and like deep clean. Not that the house necessarily like needed it, but when you've lived in your home for quite a few years, it is a major luxury to have somebody come in and like really just clean the baseboards, get in like the nooks and crannies of your stove. Like there was their oven hood they couldn't reach, like because she's so little. And I don't think really many people think to clean their oven hood, but it's like covered in grease because grease goes up and like splatters up and like the smoke goes up. So all that fun stuff. It was just really nice for her to just relax. And then also I felt like if I were the one to be doing it, she would have been like trying to help clean with me. So I just decided to splurge on that. Even though I could have done it, it was just nicer to kind of relax with her. And it always feels weird when there's like cleaners in there and you're just like chilling on the couch like, hey, how y'all doing? It feels weird and wrong, but we've also had to have a cleaner come here one time at our house and they're like, we actually prefer you to get out of our way because it just like makes it way faster for us if we like don't have to like go around and blah blah. So her and I were relaxing. We got up to go get a pedicure and her water broke and I was like, holy shit, it's go time. So over the next 2 full days, she was in labor. They finally ended up having the baby. And by the time the baby came out, because of the labor process just being as long as it was, he needed to go to like his own room just to like get some extra help, which the baby is totally fine. He's happy, healthy. She's happy and healthy. But at that point, I hadn't been able to go to that room because she hadn't even met her own baby yet. So I was like, I'm not going to go meet this baby before she meets her baby. So now they're home, they're happy, they're healthy, everybody's doing well. My husband and I are going back up at the end of the month. So I kind of just wanted to explain like what the last week was, why I was off, and why I didn't have an episode for you guys last week. September's getting crazy for us. Just in general, our life is kind of getting crazy. So my husband and I, this coming week, I'm going to LA for a business trip that I got invited on, which is literally the coolest thing ever. It's for Kosas. So by the time this episode is coming out, I will already be in LA. I don't even know what the event is. I don't know if they're launching something. I have no idea. All I know is they've only invited 10 influencers. It's very exclusive, and they have us there for basically 24 full hours. We get to meet like the founder of Kosas, all this stuff. And if you guys have followed me for quite some time, I am a diehard Kosas fan. I love their stuff. I love that they're clean. I love like their concealer is my ride or die. You cannot convince me that there's a better concealer out there. It's my absolute favorite. Their setting powder, I don't know. I'm going on a Kosas rant. Follow them on TikTok. I'll share over the next few days. Anyways, so I'm going to that, and then I have to fly straight from LA to New York. So I get into New York, unfortunately, Friday night. So I'll probably miss a lot of like events that are happening on Friday, which stinks, but Raphael will be out there. So Raphael is flying to New York from here, and I'm meeting him in New York for Fashion Week. One thing, I don't think a lot of people like, obviously, if you've never been to Fashion Week, you're like, what the fuck is it all about? Fashion Week could be totally anything. It could be that you're going to fashion shows. It could be that you're going to an event. Some brands will host like a party and they just want you to come, and it's like a free open bar. They've normally got some form of entertainment. Like last year we got invited to Rebecca Minkoff, and Leon Bridges was singing and performing that night. So that was cool. It could really be anything. It could be like a morning walkthrough. It could be what they call activations, which is where like products are normally on site, but it's still kind of like an event, but it's more product based activation. It really could just be anything. So this year I'm really excited. All the fashion shows that I'm going to, they are dressing me for, which is absolutely the coolest thing ever. So what happens then is you get to go and you get to get what's called fitted. You walk into like a showroom with a shit ton of clothing, and you get to like try stuff on, pick the dress that you want to wear to that event or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's not a dress, maybe it'll be a suit or your outfit. And then normally you get gifted that outfit. Sometimes people will ask for it to be returned depending on the brand or the designer. Come lay down, please. Come here. Yes, it's your sister's. Raphael just got home with the other dogs, so Ebby was a little inquisitive of what was happening outside there. Anyways, so New York Fashion Week is always different. It depends on who you are, what you're doing, what you love. I got invited to a Tresemme event. So Tresemme is like the big sponsor of all of New York Fashion Week. So behind the scenes, Tresemme is doing all the hair of all the models for the fashion shows. So Tresemme will like invite some influencers out and say like, here's an invite to the show, post a video, and like they'll do your hair or something like that. So everything is so different. It's so fun. It's so cool. Every single year that I get invited to New York Fashion Week, I'm just always like, what the heck is my life? I will say almost always New York Fashion Week is on your own dime. You have to pay for your own flights. You have to pay for your own hotels. You have to pay for absolutely everything. It's not like a brand pays you and flies you out and whatever. Some people, yeah, like I'm sure Alex Earl, like when she gets invited to this stuff, those are paid, what's called appearance fees. But most 99% of the girlies there, it's literally just an invite and we've had to pay our way. And it's honestly just more like a networking event. It's really fun. It's really fun to meet people in our industry. It's really fun to meet the faces behind the brand. That's literally my favorite thing ever. Every time brands throw events, you get to meet their workers, who are normally the ones that are like DMing you or emailing with your manager or whoever. So it's kind of fun. I just wanted to give a little insight of what happens behind the scenes at Fashion Week, because I feel like a lot of people always wonder. I know I wondered back in the day, but it's not normally paid. And it's crazy, but it's fun. Okay, so this week I want to talk to you guys about life when your friends are moving on around you. And what I mean by that is I have both of my best friends are pregnant right now. Well, one just delivered her baby, and then my other one's pregnant and due in January. Everyone around me is pregnant. And I remember back in the day, like right out of high school, early college, end of college years, where people were starting to get married, people were getting jobs, some people were having babies, some people are buying houses. I remember being so confused as to what my timeline was. And you just like naturally as children, you're in a school, right? You're in school and everything is about the same level. Yeah, you might have some smarter kids in the class. You may have some that are a little bit slower in class, but at the same time, everybody keeps progressing at the exact same level. You go from first to second, second to third, third to fourth. And then you hit life. And then 18 happens, you're out into the real world, and you can either go to college, you can go to cosmetology school, you can go to the military, you can go do whatever the hell you want. Sometimes you don't do anything and you pick up whatever job you can get, whatever the case may be. But I feel like that's such a harsh reality check as soon as everybody graduates and you look around and all you see is everybody going their own ways. I think it is honestly the coolest thing ever because you do get to be yourself. You get to do what you want to do. You get to chase your own dreams. You get to just be you, and you're no longer on the first grade track, the second grade track, the third grade track. You are now on the life track. But what's so hard is we've spent our entire life at the same level of 20 kids around us. So if your whole entire class is graduating to the next class level, you do that. You just feel like that's what you do. And when you hit life, you're like, damn, like, what am I supposed to be doing? Do I go to university? And then it's like, okay, you do choose college. Some kids are like, well, community college. Do I go to university? Do I go to a big university? Do I go to a small university? Do I invest myself into all these extracurriculars? Do I do a sorority? Do I do a fraternity? Like, you get so lost in what you're supposed to be doing. And there's so many choices that hit you right out of the gate. And I remember those times, and I never finished college. And at the time I was like, I made that decision for myself because I was like, I physically can no longer do school. Granted, I put this on myself. Like when I moved back to Florida to go to college, I had picked up 18 credits, which is way too many credits for a college kid. That is way too many. And not only that, but I was paying my own way. So like FAFSA paid, but I had to pay like my own stuff, like my own, and like shit adds up. And I had my own rent. Like my parents didn't help with anything. I didn't have scholarships minus FAFSA. And I drowned in myself. At that point, I was working 3 jobs and doing 18 credits. How the fuck does that even, like 18 credits is already a full-time plus job. And I had 3 jobs. I was working at Charming Charlie's, Red Lobster, and like a little Italian restaurant in Florida that I was nearby. So 3 jobs and 18 credits, I dropped out. But that was my own decision because I was like, I can't do this anymore. I wish if I could go back. And I don't know what I would have done differently. I'm glad that I did what I did because, again, I don't know what I would do differently. I don't know if I would have taken loans and said, fuck it, and just lived like that. I don't know. But anyways, where I was going with this is life just hits you and you don't know what to do until you're breaking one day and you're like, okay, I got to do what's right for me. And I feel like there's so many people out there that need that reminder of do what is right for you. Stop looking at what everybody else is doing. Do I have regrets of not going to a big university? Do I have regrets of like overloading myself right away freshman year of college to the point where I literally couldn't do it anymore? Yeah, like, yes, I regret those, but I'm also proud of myself for saying I'm going to do what's best for me, and look where it's gotten me. I've always trusted myself. I've always said like, yes, this is hard, but I'm going to get through it. I've always just put my best foot forward and tried because that's the least thing that we can do. Like, I don't really believe in failure. I believe that you either try and you quote unquote fail and then you try again and eventually you're going to succeed. Just anything in life. Like it's your first time flying, you're going to be anxious. But then when you fly and fly and fly and fly and fly and fly, the less anxiety you get. Or it's your first time making rice, and rice is a hard thing to cook. But as soon as you make it right one time, you start to get the hang of it and then you're confident in your skills. And I believe that's with everything in life. You are talking to an 18, 19, 21, 22, 23-year-old kid like not knowing what they want to do. That's so normal. But they have to keep trying is what my opinion is. You can't just drop out and say like, oh, I'm going to live with my mom and dad forever and wonder why my life isn't progressing the way I want it to. Well, because you're not putting in the work. But where I was going with all of this, so having 2 pregnant best friends at the same time, everybody kept asking us like, oh, you're next, you're next, you're next. And although, yes, I understand like where people are coming from, like a lot of people love their children. They want to see their friends love their kids. Like, I love it. But I also kept reminding myself that I have to do what's best for me. And having a baby at the same time my best friends were having babies, would it have been so cool? Yeah. But also, was I just doing it just to have a baby at the same time as them? Yeah, that's what I would be doing. So I don't know. I just felt like at the time that my husband and I were like watching our best friends have babies and like get pregnant and like go through all the fun stuff, there was never an inkling in me that was like, comparison, where I was like, oh, now I got to get knocked up because I want to be pregnant at the same time. I just think that it's important to remember that we all are on our life journey. There is no comparison. You are not in my car with me and my family. You do not know at which rate of speed I'm going and at which temperature I keep my car at and what exact level that I'm, and where I'm using this analogy is we're all different. Everybody's cars are different. The way we drive our cars are different. Like if you're focused on your own lane, you can continue, like the analogy of like if you're driving in your own car, picture yourself on a highway, you can see people passing you, you can see people behind you, you can see people pulled over on the side of the road. You can also notice that there's an accident up ahead. You can notice that someone's like pulled over, but you just got to keep going in your own lane. Like, you can observe those around you and be happy for what they're going through, but remember that this journey is yours and yours only. Stay in your own lane, eyes on the road, keep your eyes and hands on the wheel. Like, just keep going, but also don't get in your head of like, you have to be doing what others are doing. I remember, again, back in college, watching like some girlfriends like going out to the bar scene and having so much fun and meeting a bunch of guys and dating around. That looked like fun because I was like, oh my God, they're having so much fun. Like, I remember friends that were like bartenders and making so much money. They lived downtown. They were living this party life. And I was like, oh my God, that looks so fun. Then I also remember seeing friends that were like getting married to these great guys, having babies. We were really young. I was like, oh my God, I would love a husband. Like, I would love a family. I would love to settle down. Like, we're always going to observe what our people around us are doing. And there's always going to be small inklings of like, oh, I wish I had that. But it's not meant for you because that's not your life. Like, be happy, be proud of your friends, be excited for your friends, show up for your friends. I also want to keep that very like top of the forefront. Like, you can show up for your people without wanting to be your people. I don't know why there's so many people out there that are like jealous of what their friends are doing and like don't want to go support their wedding or don't want to go support their baby or don't show up for this or don't show up for that. And it's like, you can support your people without being jealous. Like, your time is coming and what is meant for you will not ever miss you. And the more that you start to really believe that, like, my life is my life and what's meant for me will be here, then that you can just enjoy more. You can just be like, okay, like, I love life now. I'm having fun. Yes, one of my girlfriends just got married to an amazing guy. They had this perfect storyline. I love that for them. Yes, I have some girlfriends that are out there still living their best life, living it up all day, every day, buying Louis, buying Gucci's, and I'm jealous. Like, yeah, I'm like, dang, okay, but I love that for them. Like, I don't know. I just feel like we've gotten in such a comparison age. And watching my friends go through new and exciting things in life, watching them become parents is so cool. And I've never in my head sat back and was like, oh my God, Raphael and I aren't on a fast enough timeline. But that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it because I'm like, one, I don't feel like a lot of people talk about it. And I feel like more people were pressuring Raphael and I to have a baby than we were even like, oh my God, now we want a baby. Granted, I will say, ever since meeting my best friend's little baby, well, not meeting him, but like seeing him and like knowing that he's out here in the world, I don't have any siblings that have kids. I don't have cousins that have kids. Like, nobody in my close circle has kids other than now my two best friends. And seeing Haley's baby like be here in the real world and like knowing that this physical human being is out there, something literally like instilled in me and like is in my heart of like, not that that's my baby, but more like if that kid were to call me and there would ever be an issue or like Haley would ever call me and like need something, no questions asked. Like, that kid, we're getting it handled. So I definitely think that seeing something instinctually turn on in me did make me want kids more now because I'm like, I've never had the jealousy factor of like when they're pregnant. I'm like, nothing in me was like, oh my God, I want to be pregnant at the same time. Everything in me was like, thank you for my free birth control. But now seeing that baby, I'm like, okay, because I've always wondered, and I want to talk about this on a podcast episode, maybe with a guest one time, of like someone who never wanted kids but had kids and what their take on it is. Because I've never had like a full pull of wanting a child. I've always been like, okay, like if it happens, it happens. If not, it not. Like, and now I'm like, okay, I definitely want a baby of my own because of the amount of love that just naturally kicked in for me of like, I never met this kid before. He's a day old. Why am I ready to kill for him? You know, like what the heck just kicked into me? I can only imagine a mother's love. And I haven't even held this baby yet. Like, I literally have not even touched him. Like, that's where I'm like, okay, now I'm excited because I think that baby just showed me something inside of me that I just never really knew was there. Anyways, so I just kind of wanted to talk about like, you don't need to compare yourself to anybody else. You don't need to, I don't know. I just feel like it's, and I have a cousin that's like, she started her master's degree and she was like, I just see like some of my friends getting married now. She's 22, not even 23 years old. I'm like, or did she just turn 23? I don't know. She's right between that time frame. So I just watched my cousin just even in this mindset of like, I have some friends getting married. I'm like, stay in your own lane. I think that's the biggest thing to remember is like, you can be happy for others without being jealous. And if anything, like take it as like if your friends are doing things, learn from them. If they're doing things earlier than you, like one of my favorite things is like, I get to watch what my girlfriends are going through and be excited because I'm like, ooh, like I learned this or I learned this or I learned this. Like, I don't know. I'm almost like, thanks for taking one for the team before I had to. And like, thanks for teaching me all this stuff. I also will say, like, comparison is the thief of joy. We all hear that. We see that all the freaking time, but that is so real. Comparison is the thief of all joy. Stop comparing and start just living. Start being happy for your people. Start encouraging your people. Start showing up for your people. The more that you realize that the comparison is the thief of joy, your life is better. Your life becomes a million times better when you literally just shut up and live your best life. Supporting your friends is the best thing that you can do. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is so many people, I like posted a video and it went viral of like the fact that I flew across the country for my friend. And so many people were like, I hope she shows up for you the same way you do her. I want to talk to the people who are givers and the people who do show up nonstop. It's okay, so for example, Christmas comes and I get a gift from my brother. He comes over for Christmas and he doesn't have a gift for me. I never in my wildest dreams would expect anything just because I bought somebody something or I did something for somebody else. If you are a giver, there's a difference between a giver and a people pleaser. And I feel like a lot of people pleasers swear they're the nicest people, but I actually think they're not. I think that they are people who go and do something because they've been just naturally cultured and conditioned to, I don't know, whether their parents are like, no, you have to do this or you do this whether you like it or not. And then like that's where people pleasers kind of cultivate. And then they become resentful where they're like, well, I did this for you. Why didn't you do this for me? And it's like, wait, what? But if you're just a natural giver, you have no expectations of anything in return. And I just want to remind people that like just because somebody is doing something for somebody else, that doesn't mean that it has to be reciprocated. And to remember that if you are the friend that constantly shows up for other people and nobody's showing up for you, one, you need to like reevaluate your friend group, but also reevaluate your mindset of like, are you giving in expectation of a return? Like, or are you giving because you truly love that? Do I ever expect my best friend? Okay, so for example, now she's pregnant. She just gave birth. By the time I have a baby and I'm about to be due, her baby's what? Going to be almost 1. That's if we get pregnant right away. Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm throwing out a timeline here. Would I ever, in my right minds, be able to expect my best friend to drop everything in her life, fly across the country, spend a couple days with me? And like, no, I don't, but I've never had that in my mind of like, that's not why I showed up for her in one day that she can do the same for me, because everybody's got a different life. And remember, like what I said, when you're in your own car, like you don't know what the driver's seat is set to. You don't know what the temperature is set to. You don't know how fast the other person is going. You don't know if there's screaming kids in the background. Like everybody's car, aka life, is filled with so many different variables and so many different things going on all the freaking time. You can never, ever, ever expect to know exactly what somebody else has got going on in their life. So show up when you can and just do that because you want to do that. You want to be a good person, not because I'm like sitting here counting all the things that I did for her and I have a whole list of like, well, if you don't show up for my birthday on October 17th of 2025, fuck you, you're out of my life. Like, no, that's not how life goes. And I really want you to think about that. Like if you are a person that gets really pissed off, I get it. I get it, where you're the person who always shows up for other people and then you throw a party and nobody comes. I get how hurtful that is. I really, truly do. But I really want you to try to think of like, it's not an attack against you. It has nothing to do with the fact that nobody wants to show up for you. It's just that your life might have different variables than theirs does. And I don't know, again, at the end of the day, I think it's all about just doing it because you choose to, not because you have to, but because you actually want to, with no expectations of anything in return. Life is so much better when you give without the expectation of receiving. I love, 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 love to give 24/7, nonstop. It's my love language. But when I don't get anything in return, I'm not sitting here like, nobody loves me. I don't know. I know that was like a big, big rant. I don't know if you guys are like, what the fuck? So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about life progressing and then also like doing what you want to do because you want to do it, not because you feel like you have to do it. Don't let comparison steal your joy. I hate that saying. I hate how cliche it is, but I truly believe that. Like, I don't know. I hope that helps you guys. So that's what I wanted this episode to be about. Raphael and I are going to film in New York. Raphael and I are going to do With the Washingtons while we're in New York. We did it last Fashion Week while we're there in February. So I'm excited for that. We literally just post up in our bed. We have our little handheld mics and we just have the best of times there. So head over to Instagram, ask us whatever With the Washington questions you have. We have our teacher giveaway coming. We just did that. So we got all the donations. You guys, we have so many donations. It's absolutely crazy. I'm excited for that. And then as soon as we get back from New York, I'm here for a week. And then my husband and I are going to Minnesota to meet the baby. I'm so excited. What else? Raphael's job being remote is literally the most clutch thing to ever exist in this world. Back in Minnesota when he was working up there, it was hybrid. So we had to like plan around that. But now it's kind of nice being able to go wherever and not have to worry. So love that for us. What else? And then we're basically into October. Isn't that freaking crazy? So give some grace. Also, I will put on the podcast Instagram page over the next few days, like what topics do we want to see? What topics do we want to hear? What topics do we want to talk about? I feel like just being kind of off of podcasting for a month and then also walking straight into a baby delivery without being able to film last week. I just feel kind of like, okay, what do we want to talk about? What have we not talked about in a while? And then, yeah, I don't know what else. So this was a quick one. I just want you guys to know that I truly love you guys, and I really just want you to know that life is just its own journey for everybody. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Do what is best for you. Stand your own ground. Have your own backbone. Make your own life choices. Stick by your own life choices. But also know that anything that's meant for you is going to hit you. It will never miss you. And I don't know, just live your best life, but also show up for your friends with no expectations of return. I guess that was kind of the whole wraparound gist of this. So what was the one other thing? Oh, I read The Paradise Problem. I wanted to talk to the girlies who read. The Paradise Problem I read, and it is literally probably like one of my absolute favorite books. So if you have not read it yet, I highly, highly, highly recommend you read that. I'm trying to see. It's by Christina Lauren. And it is, I'm trying to read it from here. It literally, I was hooked on that book. So if you're looking for a book recommendation, The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren is 10 out of 10 recommend. I literally was hooked. I read it in like 4 hours. Granted, I read it on like a flight to and from, but that book was so unbelievably good. I can't even explain it to you guys. Other than that, I'll see you guys next week. We do have merch dropping. It is called the Flawed merch line. We started this in September of last year and it finally made it here. Granted, it's been an absolute whirlwind of a year, but the Flawed merch line is coming soon. I'm super excited about that. I'm trying to think of anything else that we got going on. I think that's it. So I will see you guys next week. Sorry for the shorter episode, but we'll be back. Goodbye.